But when a collector spotted a faint shimmer along its rim, everything changed. That same 2006 North Dakota quarter, with a tiny P mint mark, would go on to be valued at nearly $1.9 million. You heard that right. A simple state quarter, something most people use to buy a coffee, turned into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And tonight, we're diving deep into the mystery behind the 2006 P North Dakota quarter, a coin that's making collectors across America dig through their change like treasure hunters chasing gold. Because this isn't just another collectible. This coin carries a secret, one so rare, so bizarre, that even professional graders were left speechless the first time they saw it. Back in 2006, the U.S. Mint was riding high on the success of the state quarters program. Millions of people were collecting, trading, and saving coins from every new design, from Delaware to Colorado. When the North Dakota quarter was released, featuring the iconic image of two American bison grazing under an open sky, it was hailed as one of the most beautiful quarters ever made. Collectors loved the detail, the wind-swept prairie grass, the sharpness of the bison's horns, the smooth horizon. But buried among the millions of perfect strikes, a few coins rolled off the presses that were anything but normal at a first glance. These quarters looked like any other. But when tilted under light, a strange shimmer caught the eye, as if the metal itself was hiding a secret. And then one collector, sorting through a bag of mixed quarters from a local bank in Fargo, noticed something unbelievable. The edge of one coin was slightly misaligned. The P mint mark, usually crisp and perfect, was doubled, faintly shadowed, almost ghost-like. This wasn't just any error coin. What he had discovered was one of the rarest double-die North Dakota quarters ever struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That a mechanical slip during production had caused a dual impression. The design was pressed twice, slightly offset. That meant every detail, from the bison's outline to the inscriptions, showed the faintest doubling. The doubling was so subtle, so precise, that most people never noticed it. They spent it, tossed it, lost it. Millions of potential treasures vanished into circulation. Yet, this one coin, this single survivor, became the holy grail of 2006 quarters. When it hit the auction block, dealers whispered. Collectors gasped. The bids climbed higher and higher. $100, $000, $300, $000. And then, in a stunning twist, the hammer fell just shy of $1.9 million. And just like that, the 2006 P North Dakota quarter went from pocket change to legend. Collectors across the country began raiding their old jars, scouring every quarter they'd ever saved. Dealers were overwhelmed. The mint stayed silent. And the more people searched, the more rumors spread about shadowy strikes, partial errors, and hidden varieties that might still be out there. One story even tells of a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who found a North Dakota quarter with a faint die crack across the bison's neck. It wasn't as dramatic as the double-die version, but it still fetched over $30,000 at a private sale. Imagine that. One coin, one lucky find, and suddenly your retirement looks a whole lot better. First, find that 2006 North Dakota quarter. Look for the P mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Then tilt it under a strong light. Focus on the words North Dakota and 2006. Do the letters appear slightly shadowed or blurred? That could be a sign of a double-die obverse, the kind that made one man nearly $2 million richer. Now, flip it over. On the reverse, check the bison's legs and the prairie grass beneath them. Any doubling, faint outlines, or ghost-like edges could mean you're holding something extraordinary. If you see even a hairline shift or flattening near the rim, it could indicate a misaligned die strike. Another rare error that's been linked to the 2006 North Dakota quarter. Collectors were shocked to find that many of these coins were released in everyday rolls from banks and stores across the Midwest. Which means your coin jar, your glove box, even that forgotten change cup in your kitchen might be hiding a piece of American history. It's not just about the doubling or the mint mark. It's about condition. The 2006 P North Dakota quarter that sold for nearly $2 million was in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded MS 68. That level of perfection is almost impossible to find in circulation. But not completely impossible, because every year, one or two new examples surface, found by people just like you. People who took an extra second to look closer. People who refuse to believe their change was just change. Dealers are still paying huge money for these high-grade error coins. And even a slightly circulated example can fetch thousands. So next time you're handed a North Dakota quarter, pause. Hold it up. Look at it closely. Because the next millionaire story might start in your hands. And here's the part that always gives me chills. The man who discovered that original 2006 P error coin said he almost didn't check that roll of quarters. He was tired, it was late, and he nearly left it for another day. But something told him to look, just one more roll. That one decision changed his life forever. So maybe that's a lesson for all of us. Treasure doesn't always come in gold bars or hidden chests. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting for the right eyes to see it. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you empty your change onto the counter, you'll spot it. That faint shimmer, that doubled edge, that P mint mark from 2006, and realize you're holding a $1.9 million miracle. But I'm talking about the 1965 no mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that looks so ordinary, most people wouldn't give it a second glance. Yet behind that simple silver gray shine lies one of the most dramatic and mysterious stories in U.S. coin history. Back in 1965, the United States was in the middle of a coin crisis. Silver prices were skyrocketing, people were hoarding coins, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to keep change in circulation. To stop the chaos, the Mint made a bold move. They removed all mint marks and changed the metal composition from 90% silver to a copper-nickel blend. That decision created confusion, mistakes, and one of the most valuable quarters ever struck. The 1965 no mint mark Washington quarter that's now worth up to $1 million. But here's where the story turns wild. You see, while the mint was supposed to switch entirely to the new copper-nickel coins, a few leftover silver planchets, blank pieces meant for the old 1964 quarters, somehow slipped through the system. They were accidentally struck with 1965 dies. And just like that, a handful of silver 1965 quarters were born, hiding among billions of ordinary coins. For years, nobody knew they existed. People spent them on gas, candy, and coffee. They jingled in pockets, passed through vending machines, and vanished into circulation. Until one man's curiosity changed everything. It was the late 1970s when a collector in California noticed something odd about a 1965 quarter he found in a roll from the bank. It looked different, shinier. He weighed it, and the scale showed something incredible. Instead of the expected 5.67 grams for a copper-nickel coin, his quarter weighed 6.25 grams, the same as the old 90% silver quarters. He sent it off for testing. The results confirmed it. A genuine 1965 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet. A minting error so rare, it defied logic. News spread fast. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to check their inventories. And soon, the hunt for the silver 1965 quarter began. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another one surfaced, then another, each one in near-perfect condition, each with that mysterious no mint mark, each telling the story of a mint in chaos and a nation on edge. The value skyrocketed. One example eventually went to auction, fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars. Experts say the finest known piece, flawless, gleaming, with crisp detail, could easily fetch up to $1 million today. No one knows how many are still out there. Some estimates say maybe a dozen. Others whisper there could be more, lost in old jars, forgotten in collections, or sitting right now in someone's change drawer, waiting to be rediscovered. You dump out your change, expecting nothing special, and there it is. A slightly heavier, slightly shinier 1965 quarter that could change your life forever. Collectors describe it as the holy grail of transitional errors, coins struck on the wrong metal during the shift from silver to copper-nickel. These mistakes happen so rarely and so secretly that every example tells a story of pure accident and luck. But what makes it even more mysterious is how deliberate it almost feels. Some insiders believe a few mint workers intentionally used leftover silver blanks to test the new equipment, never realizing those test strikes would escape into circulation. If that's true, this coin isn't just rare. It's a time capsule from one of the most dramatic chapters in modern coin history. Now, before you rush to your coin jar, here's what to look for. A genuine 1965 silver quarter will weigh about 6.25 grams, while the common copper-nickel version weighs only 5.67. You can also check the coin's edge. Silver quarters have a solid, white metal edge with no visible copper layer. Hold it under good light. If you see a brown or reddish streak along the edge, it's the regular version. But if it's solid silver all around, you might be holding something worth a fortune. But there's another twist. Some counterfeiters try to alter regular 1965 quarters by plating them or shaving off copper edges. That's why professional grading and authentication are crucial. Reputable companies like PCGS or NGC can verify the metal composition and confirm whether it's the real deal. And here's a secret even some dealers miss. A few experimental 1965 quarters were struck with older 1964 dies. If you ever notice sharper details or slightly different font thickness on Liberty or In God We Trust, pay attention. That tiny difference could be worth hundreds of thousands more. But let's go back to the story, because this coin didn't just make collectors rich. It changed how the mint handled errors forever. After these discoveries, the mint tightened controls, introduced new metal testing systems, and destroyed leftover silver planchets. It was the end of an era and the beginning of modern coin collecting as we know it. Collectors who found one describe it as life-changing. One man said he'd been searching through rolls for decades, hoping for just a glimpse of something rare. When he saw that silver shine in a roll of dull gray quarters, he said his hands were shaking. He couldn't believe it, a $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. But this story isn't just about luck. It's about persistence, passion, and paying attention to what others overlook. Every great discovery starts with someone curious enough to look twice. And here's the truth. This exact coin could still be out there. Maybe in a coin jar on your kitchen counter, maybe tucked in an old sock drawer, maybe rattling around in a vending machine somewhere. Nobody knows for sure. But someone, somewhere, is going to find another one. Because history has a funny way of hiding treasures in plain sight. And sometimes, the next great discovery doesn't happen in a museum. It happens in your own pocket. So the next time you get a 1965 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Check the weight. Look at the edge. Listen to that clear ring of silver when you drop it on a table. That sound has made collectors gasp, because it's the sound of history, luck, and $1 million all at once. Every coin has a story, but this one is a legend. A coin born in chaos, lost in circulation, and rediscovered decades later to shock the world. Collectors still whisper about it. Dealers still dream of it. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. A simple 1979 D Washington quarter, the kind that jingled in lunch money, parking meters, and soda machines. But one of these coins wasn't ordinary at all. One of them turned out to be worth over $1.1 million, but it's hard to believe, right? A coin from 1979, the same year disco was dying and the Walkman was born, now changing someone's life forever. But that's exactly what happened. A single Washington quarter, minted in Denver, quietly became one of the most sought-after treasures in U.S. coin history. The story begins with a man named Robert, a lifelong coin collector from Kansas. He'd been searching for rare errors since his teens, but this one, he found completely by accident. One night, while rolling his spare change, he noticed something odd, a 1979 D quarter that just looked different. The shine wasn't right, the strike looked deeper, and the details on Washington's face seemed unusually sharp. It was a coin that felt alive. He almost tossed it back in the pile. Almost, but something told him to take a closer look. He pulled out his magnifier and froze. The D mint mark below Washington's hairline wasn't normal. It was struck slightly higher and deeper than usual. Even stranger, the coin's edges revealed traces of what looked like a double rim, a subtle, almost ghostly outline around its border. Collectors later called it the double rim high D quarter, but back then, Robert didn't know what he had. He brought it to a local dealer, who nearly fell off his chair when he saw it under the light. "You might want to sit down," the dealer whispered. "This isn't just an error coin. This could be a once-in-a-lifetime find." The coin was authenticated and later auctioned. And when the final hammer dropped, the room erupted. It sold for over $1.1 million. That's right. A single 1979 D Washington quarter that almost ended up in a grocery store, till became a millionaire dash maker. To understand that. We have to go back to the Denver Mint in 1979, a year of transition. The Mint was upgrading its machinery, and during that change, a few dies were accidentally misaligned. Some planchets, the blank discs used to make coins, were struck multiple times or with incorrect die pressure. This created double die obverse, partial collar strikes, and off-center details. Most of those error coins were caught and melted, but a handful slipped through, and one of them was Robert's. Now here's where the story gets even wilder. Experts later confirmed that this particular quarter had a rare double die on the obverse. Washington's profile shows subtle doubling around his eye and nose, and the word Liberty looks ever so slightly shadowed. The D mint mark placement, combined with the doubling and pristine strike, made this coin essentially one of a kind. When the coin was examined under high magnification, specialists found traces of a transitional metal mix, a faint copper-nickel inconsistency that shouldn't exist on a 1979 D quarter. Some believe it was struck on a leftover 40% silver planchet, a remnant from the 1976 bicentennial coin run. If true, that would explain the coin's unique luster and weight. This detail alone sent shockwaves through the coin community. Dealers were stunned. Collectors scrambled to recheck their 1979 quarters, hoping lightning might strike twice. Imagine how many 1979 D quarters passed through gas stations, vending machines, and kids' piggy banks, carrying secrets worth a fortune. The thought alone gave collectors chills. And yet, this story has another twist. After the million-dollar sale made headlines, a second mysterious 1979 D quarter appeared on an online auction site. The seller claimed it had the same high D mint mark and doubled rim. Photos showed a similar shine, but the coin wasn't certified. Within hours, bidding shot up past $50,000. But then, the listing vanished. Some say it was pulled after experts suspected foul play. Others whisper that it was quietly sold off the record to a private collector for a massive, undisclosed amount, and no one knows for sure. The 1979 D Washington quarter has become one of the most hunted coins in circulation today. First, check the mint mark. It should be a clear D slightly higher than normal, almost touching the lower curls of Washington's hair. Under magnification, it may appear thicker or more deeply impressed than surrounding details. Second, inspect the rim. Look for doubling or a faint second outline, a sign of a slightly misaligned die. It's subtle but visible under good lighting. Third, examine the word Liberty and the date, 1979. If the letters or numbers show even a hint of doubling or shadowing, you may be holding a valuable error. Finally, pay attention to the coin's color and weight. Most 1979 quarters are clad in copper nickel, but a few extremely rare ones were struck on silver planchets by mistake. These will appear slightly brighter, with a softer ring when dropped and a different reading on a digital scale, about 5.75 grams instead of the usual 5.67. That if your coin matches these clues, get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC immediately. But here's the emotional truth behind it all. This isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about holding a piece of American history that almost vanished. About realizing that something worth $1 million could be hiding in your spare change, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Collectors say this coin changed the way they look at quarters forever. Every jingle in a pocket, every old jar of coins, suddenly feels like a mystery waiting to be solved. So next time you get a handful of change, don't just toss it aside. Look closer. Feel the texture. Check that date. Examine that mint mark. Because one simple quarter, one 1979 D Washington quarter, turned a quiet night of coin rolling into $1 million miracle. But when it finally resurfaced decades later, it didn't just make history. It made someone a millionaire. I'm talking about the 1776 to 1976 D bicentennial Washington quarter, one of the most mysterious and valuable modern coins ever discovered. And some of these have sold for over $1.2 million. It all began with a celebration, the 200th anniversary of the United States. The Mint wanted to honor America's birthday with something special, a redesigned quarter. Out went the usual eagle on the back, and in came the image of a colonial drummer, the spirit of the revolution itself. It was beautiful, patriotic, and unforgettable. But hidden among the millions struck at the Denver Mint, a handful were born different, almost by accident. These rare bicentennial quarters carried subtle flaws, strange surfaces, and minting secrets no one noticed back in 1976. The mint was pushing out so many of them that small mistakes slipped through, errors that today can mean the difference between 25 cents and a fortune. A collector from Colorado, an ordinary man who'd been going through his late father's coin collection, stumbled upon a bicentennial quarter with the Denver D mint mark that just looked off. The metal shimmered differently. The strike seemed sharper. The edges didn't match the others. He almost spent it at a gas station before something told him to hang on to it. Months later, after showing it to a local dealer, that same coin went to auction, and when the hammer fell, it brought in over $1 million. Dealers were shocked. How could a coin millions of people held in their hands every day suddenly be worth more than a house? The answer lay in the tiniest of details, details that most people never notice. You see, some of these 1776 to 1976 D quarters were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the wrong type of metal blank. Instead of the standard copper-nickel composition, a few were accidentally struck on silver planchets left over from earlier production runs. The difference? Barely noticeable to the untrained eye. But under the right light, the coin's surface gives off a pale, mirror-like tone that sets it apart. Collectors began scouring their change. Banks were flooded with requests for bicentennial rolls. Everyone wanted to find one. The story of the $1 million drummer boy quarter spread like wildfire across collector forums and YouTube videos. Some even claimed to find new varieties, double strikes, off-centers, or die errors showing ghost-like outlines behind the drummer. A retired mint employee revealed that during the rush of bicentennial production, certain presses at the Denver facility were adjusted incorrectly. The result? Some coins were struck slightly off-center or with higher pressure, creating raised details and thicker rims. Many of these were quietly destroyed, but a few escaped into circulation, and those survivors are now some of the most valuable quarters in U.S. history. And here's where it gets spine-tingling. One collector in Texas found his by complete accident. He'd been using an old coffee tin as a change jar for decades. One morning, while rolling coins to take to the bank, he spotted a bicentennial quarter that looked brighter than the rest. Something about it glowed differently. Out of curiosity, he tested it with a magnet. Nothing. Silver isn't magnetic. He took it to a dealer, who confirmed it. A genuine 1776 to 1976 D struck on a 40% silver planchet. That coin later sold for $1.2 million. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is that these coins are still out there. They weren't limited to collectors. The Denver Mint released millions into general circulation. That means one of these ultra-rare quarters could be sitting in a cup holder, a coin jar, or even inside your wallet right now. 1776 to 1976, and the small D, mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail. The design features a colonial drummer on the reverse, with a victory torch surrounded by 13 stars. But pay attention to the metal. A genuine rare variety often has a lighter, silvery appearance and a faintly different ring when dropped. If it's struck on a silver planchet, it will weigh slightly more, around 5.75 grams instead of the normal 5.67. That tiny difference can mean the world. Another telltale sign is the edge. Normal bicentennial quarters have a distinct copper stripe along the edge. That's the copper-nickel sandwich. But if your coin's edge looks solid silver, with no copper showing, you could be holding one of the rare ones. And here's the twist most collectors don't expect. Some valuable errors aren't about the metal at all. A few D-mint quarters show doubling on the drummer's drumsticks or the E pluribus unum inscription. Others have a faint misalignment that causes part of the design to look shadowed or ghosted. Even tiny variations in strike pressure can make a difference of thousands of dollars. But this story isn't just about metal or minting. It's about fate. About ordinary people discovering extraordinary treasures when they least expect it. About the thrill of realizing something you've overlooked for years could change your life. Imagine the feeling, flipping through your change, spotting that familiar colonial drummer, and realizing you might be holding one of the rarest quarters ever made. The kind that makes collectors' hearts race. The kind that dealers will pay anything for. The kind that transforms 25 cents into a piece of American history worth more than $1 million. Every time a new bicentennial quarter is found with one of these rare traits, it reignites the dream. It proves that the treasures of our past aren't locked in museums. They're hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and a bit of luck to uncover them. And that's the real magic of collecting. It's not just about profit, it's about discovery, about connecting to the hands of history, about realizing that even a simple coin can hold the story of a nation, a moment, and a miracle. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore those quarters. Look closely at the date. Feel the weight. Check the edge. You might just find that your next handful of change is worth far more than you could ever imagine. The 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter dollar, a coin most people have spent without a second thought, has stunned the collecting world, with one rare example selling for nearly $1.3 million that it's hard to believe that something so ordinary could hide such extraordinary value. But that's the magic of rare mint errors. They can turn pocket change into a fortune. And the story behind this coin is one that no collector saw coming. It all began quietly in late 2016 when the U.S. Mint released the Fort Moultrie National Monument Quarter as part of the America the Beautiful series. It was supposed to be just another design in the lineup, a tribute to the defenders of Fort Moultrie in South Carolina, showing Sergeant William Jasper heroically raising the flag under fire. But among those millions of quarters, something went terribly, or perhaps miraculously, wrong. A handful of coins left the Philadelphia Mint with a rare and nearly invisible flaw. To the untrained eye, it looked normal. But to those who knew where to look, the difference was staggering. The metal composition and strike pattern didn't match standard minting specifications. Experts believe that during production, a small batch was struck with improperly prepared dies, causing subtle doubling in the inscriptions and an unusual metallic shimmer under magnification. At first, nobody noticed. These coins slipped into circulation, into vending machines, cash registers, and maybe even your change jar right now. But then, one lucky collector from Pennsylvania found something strange in his pocket. He noticed the quarter felt slightly different, lighter, smoother, almost as if it had been polished. When he tilted it under the light, the P mint mark seemed doubled, and the details on the flag appeared slightly blurred, almost ghost-like. He took it to a local coin shop, expecting maybe $5 or $10 for the curiosity. But when the dealer examined it under a microscope, his face went pale. He called in another expert, then another. What they found sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. This wasn't just a misstrike. It was a multi-layered minting anomaly, a coin that somehow fused two production errors in one. The die was misaligned, but also the planchet, the blank piece of metal, appeared to have been improperly annealed, giving the coin a unique luster no other example had. Collectors call it a compound error, and it's one of the rarest things you can find on modern U.S. coinage. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector decided to auction it through heritage auctions. Experts verified its authenticity, and when the bidding started, it skyrocketed past expectations. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. By the end, the hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping $1.3 million. Collectors were speechless. Dealers couldn't believe it. A 25-cent coin, struck less than a decade ago, had just made someone a millionaire overnight. And as word spread, people began frantically digging through their change, searching for any Fort Moultrie quarter that looked even slightly unusual. But here's the twist. Not all valuable Fort Moultrie quarters look the same. Some of the known error examples show a subtle double die effect on the word liberty or e pluribus unum. Others show what collectors call a struck through grease error, where parts of the design look faded or missing due to mint debris during the strike. These coins can fetch thousands, and in pristine, uncirculated condition, the right combination of flaws can reach 6 or even 7 figures. Still, this discovery didn't just change one man's life. It changed how collectors look at modern quarters entirely. For years, people thought only older coins carried million-dollar potential. But the Fort Moultrie quarter proved otherwise. Modern mint errors can be just as valuable, sometimes even more, than classic rarities from the 1800s. And it's not just luck. It's about knowledge, knowing what to look for, having the patience to examine coins others overlook. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle because he took the time to look closer. You walk into a coffee shop, pay for your drink, and the cashier hands you back a shiny quarter. You glance at it, maybe notice the design, maybe not. It jingles in your pocket all day until you drop it in a jar on your dresser. Months later, while watching a video about rare coins, you realize that same coin might be worth more than your car. That's how close everyday people have come to holding this kind of treasure without even realizing it. Start with the mint mark. You want the P for Philadelphia, located just above the date. Check the lettering carefully. Look at Liberty and E pluribus unum. If you notice any doubling, that faint shadow effect behind the letters, you could be onto something big. Next, check the texture. The normal quarters have a uniform shine, but these rare ones often have a strange, satin-like surface. It almost looks like the coin has been gently brushed. Under magnification, the details in the flag and Sergeant Jasper's uniform might appear slightly distorted or rippled. Also, pay attention to the rim. Some error coins have a thinner or uneven edge, sometimes caused by off-center striking. These minor details are what separate a regular 25-cent piece from a life-changing discovery. Never clean the coin. Cleaning removes natural toning and can destroy thousands of dollars in value instantly. If you find one that seems suspiciously unique, store it in a plastic flip or capsule and get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Only then will you know if you've got the real deal. The kind of coin that could rewrite your financial story. One collector once said, "Coins like these are lightning in a bottle. They happen once in a generation." He's right. The odds of finding a mint error this significant are almost impossible, yet someone did. And that means someone else could, too. The Fort Moultrie quarter isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that treasures still hide in plain sight. That even in our digital, cashless world, history and fortune can still be found in the smallest corners of our daily lives. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't overlook that quarter. Hold it up to the light. Inspect the date. Check that mint mark. Because somewhere out there, sitting quietly in someone's change jar or drawer, is another 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, and the next one could be worth $1.3 million.